Trading the foreign exchange market carries high risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Trading on margin, utilizing leverage can carry an even higher level of risk that can lead to a complete loss of investment funds. So before deciding to trade the foreign exchange market or using any of our software alert products, you should carefully and diligently consider your personal investment objectives, level of experience, and risk tolerance. There is a possibility that you could potentially sustain significant loss. You should not invest any capital or trade that you cannot afford to lose. It is your responsibility to be aware of and understand all risks associated with foreign exchange trading and to seek professional advice from an independent certified financial advisor if you have any doubts. Auvoria Prime does not exercise trading authority over your trades. You and you alone exercise discretionary trading authority over every trade.
Today is Monday, July 19th. Doesn't look like there's
not a whole lot.
Here. Looks like it's pretty quiet today. We do have a red folder here at 9:30 p.m. tonight with the Aussie, so keep that in mind if you're trading the later evening sessions. But for today, right now, there's not much going on. Now here, this is a kind of a typical Monday. Right now, we're showing that the Japanese yen is the strongest on all pairs. But you're getting a little bit of a mix. You got the Swiss and the U.S. You have the Swiss and the U.S. but even those two have kind of flipped a little bit. And we have the Swiss is up here, the U.S. is down, starting to show a little bit of weakness. So, but this is kind of typical for Monday, where what I like to see when you get like all that the top one and the bottom, the top pair and the bottom pair are all the same in all four charts. This one, they're kind of mixed a little bit, so we just have to be aware that we may not get quite the consistency that we would normally like to see. But right now let's take a look at the yen and the CAD.
That was messy. It was. I mean, it's just numbers different. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's go over to the CAD yen. So I'm gonna come over here to. That's a little different.
You see what you're doing here.
There we go to the. I guess this. I thought I had this all set here, but I guess I don't. And so we have our CS tool here at the bottom. Now we're going to be spending a little bit more time using the trading view charts. We'll switch back and forth for, not everybody has trading view, but most everybody has MT4. The tools that we're going to be using primarily are going to be on the trading view charts. So that's what we're going to be focusing on. You can transcribe the key areas onto your MT4. But one thing that I really like to focus on is that we have our CS tool, Hercules. This shows us our strength to the relative strength of in this case, the euro, which is the red one, and then the blue one, which is the Japanese yen, is sort of like a grayish blue. So basically showing that the yen is stronger. We have a split by 3, a 7 and a 3 split here. That's a 4 split. And we have a 6 split. So basically, right now, if we trade this, we want to be trading this to the strength of the yen. The yen is the second currency of the pair, to the euro, and therefore we want to be trading to the strength of the yen, which is going to be to the downside of the chart. We've got these set up on 15-minute time interval for the 15-minute time intervals for our main Fibonacci tool. And you can see right now the price is between this green line and this blue line. Those are going to be our references for drawing our Fibonacci charts. So I'm going to come over here to the Fibonacci tool. I'm going to go from the green to the blue. And you'll notice that I have the blue hash on both, because when you transform over to the 5-minute and the 1-minute, no matter what color line it is on the 15-minute, it's always going to be the green line on the 15. I make it blue, but it's going to be also the same value and the same color as on the 5-minute, be the same blue line on the 1-minute, on the 1-minute chart. But this is going to be our range. Right now, you can see we're sitting right down here in the middle. Right, it's right at the 50% retracement of this move from this green to this blue. So right now, we're looking to see is this thing going to continue on down? We still have the strength to the downside.
Did you pick the euro yen? I thought you were going to look at the CAD yen.
That's why I did want to. That is why I said it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, either way, it's going to be the same trade.
That one looks like it's pretty much out of the way right now anyway. So yeah, let's go to CAD yen. I'm sorry, I picked up the wrong chart. It's Monday.
And rainy days, Mondays always get me down. Theme song for the day.
Yeah, so So here's our blue line, here's our red line, and here's our green. So we're right now it's bouncing right off the 15-minute red, which is right here. And you can see that's the same color blue. And if you look over here on the 1-minute chart, it's going to also be blue right here. So this is going to be a key. This is a key area right where it's bouncing right now.
Mhm.
So I'm going to draw my fib. And this is pretty much what we're going to try. We're just going to try and keep things as simple and as uniform as we possibly can, so that everybody
Okay.
can kind of get a good feel for what we're doing here.
Is there a reason why you're pulling from blue to green?
I'm just pulling from. No, there's no real good reason for that.
I was looking at this morning. That's why I asked, because
Yes.
the zones gets real small with the
What's
CAD
interesting is
yen.
right now is like this is right at the key point right here, this blue
Mhm.
line. So we're just going to have to now. It's kind of at this point of, is it going to bounce and continue on down towards this area, or is it going to bounce off this red and go back up to the green area? And we don't know what the answer to that is. But if you're looking to see what our potentials are, if you look and see right now, we have a 7-2 split. The orange one is going to be the Canadian. So we have a five-point spread there. We have a 2-point spread here on the 5 minutes. So that one's kind of iffy.
What would you do, Al, on this? Looking at the numbers with the fib plotter, being that this one moves 16 pimps every candle. I'm almost tempted on this particular pair to look at it from a blue line to blue line extension.
Now, one thing I noticed with the Japanese yen pairs is that the zones are a lot tighter than they are on the with the other pairs. But this being a 2-digit, I call this a 2-digit currency pair. That's probably one reason why I started doing it on that.
Why don't you go blue to blue and see what the numbers are?
And I also noticed that when I do the that I'm trading the Japanese pairs pretty much off the 5 minute as opposed to the 1, and for that very reason, because the zones are so tight. Let me just take this one off and try to draw it again. Let's go from blue to blue.
Blue to blue. Yeah, that's what I would do. Just because I think you're going to find the 50 is going to be the key anyway, regardless.
Yeah, that's right. We're right at the 60. The basically 60 of the zone. We're at the 38% retracement, or the 61, depending which way you want to look at it. But here's our fib line. So I would say this is going to be a key area right in here, right? And what I've been looking at a lot is seeing where our fib line, our Atlas tool, we're calling it Atlas. If you look at that and you look at the fib line, I'm using both of these areas for drawing a little bit of a target area. Because we have Fibonacci, we have people that are using Fibonacci's, we have institutions that are using this, and this is sort of like that. And they're very close. I mean, they're only a couple pips apart. A lot of times it gives us another, that helps to create that zone. And I've used this zone down here in the same manner.
I'm going to switch mine over to the 5 minute because I want to see. I'm curious. That's a lot of movement for a 15-minute candle. I wonder what it is on a 5. 6 pips.
So even on the 15-minute candle, I don't think it's that many pips overall. Let's see it from 89 to
their average.
That's only a 7-pip move.
Yeah, the average move is 6.8 on the 5 minute chart.
So right now it's sort of hitting into a target. We do have the yen as the strength that's showing, but this could be a nice little bounce area. Right now, again, I'm not in a big hurry to take trades on Monday morning just for this very reason, because the institutions are still trying to get their orders in and get themselves set up, and there's just a lot of what I call erratic volatility. You just don't quite know exactly what they're doing. And I'd like to try and let things stabilize a little bit and get a little bit better feel for where things are going. If I go to the 15-minute chart, expand this thing out a little bit. Let me see there we go. I'm opening up our list of folks here. You see we have a nice little drop. There's a little base, a drop, retrace a little bit, another drop, and now it's coming bounced right off of this little green line. If we look at this, so here's our, basically this is the, let me get this out of the way here, see if I can. This is basically our lower 25% of the range that we often talked about last week, where here's our lower 25. Uh, 25. And then this would be the upper 25 right up in this area. You can see right where this nice little wick came in. There's the upper 25. And you see whether you're drawn from pivot to pivot or from zone to zone with the Fibonacci's, all ends up being it's within a couple pips. So, so this is basically the range that we are playing in this morning right now. So we've identified our extremes. And right now we're in the middle. It's right now bouncing right off of this middle, well, between the 50% and the basically the 61.8% retracement of this up move. And so right now we're just trying to determine which way it's going to go. And right now I don't see any real clear direction on this one. So I'm going to have to pass. Like I said, with the yen pairs, I prefer to just stay with the 5-minute chart. So I'm just going to do that. Because like I said, these lines between these two, the 5-minute Hercules or the Atlas lines here, they're only let's see, it's 86 to 79. Yeah. This basically this is your 7-pip spread, and if you go to the 2-minute chart, it's half of that. I like to see these 7 minutes because this is where my targets are. If we get to close below here, and below this the 85.79 area, that's where the red line is. If we get a 5-minute close below that, then I would say it's going to be going down towards here, towards the lower 25%. And that would be our 7-pip that we'd be looking at. Right now, we're having a little bit of a pullback. And we'll just see how far back goes. But we have this little wick. We have all this wick right down in here, came back, rejected it, come back. Now it's coming to retest this area right here. I do like this little, from this wick somewhere to probably maybe like right around in this area, that this thing could come down, retest this trend line, find out where the bottom is, and then come up and to retest the middle zone, and then maybe come back up and retest the upper zone. But right now, there's no real trade here. I don't like taking the trades off of these 3 middle to the extreme because a lot of times this is where they'll turn around to go back up. And you'll see that right now we're making here's a low, here's a higher low, here's a higher low, which hasn't taken this wick out. But we do have, if we do a little parallel on this one, you'll see that we have this little wick right here. And we'll see how it comes down. I would consider this to be somewhat of a trap right now. And we'll see, because we're now coming into that lower 25%. We do have the strength to the downside. But we also saw how on the Hercules tool, how these numbers were starting to change. It wasn't getting real consistent along the way. So right now it's still kind of settling in. So I'm just going to pass on this.
You might want to look at your Kiwi US.
Okay, Kiwi US.
I'm in this trade already, but it's structuring up pretty nicely. To re-enter for a retracement. I had a momentum with a retracement reorder or a retrace order in it. So I'm waiting on it. Kiwi US. It seems to be playing nicely so far. Same thing with the Aussie US. They're going to be very similar. I'm in both, but they look generally the same.
Now with the US pairs, we can just sit with our normal range with this with the Hercules. We'll go from in this case, here's our blue line, here's our green line. We'll go take it in between the two with our Fibonacci tool.
I'm getting ready to take profit on this if it just drops down just a little bit lower. I need one more pip, but the momentum is on our side. But I like the retracement opportunity at 69.52-ish.
That's pretty close there. Now we're going to lock those in. Come over here to our 5-minute chart and see what we got. Turn the tool on. Now I have my zones in between on my 5 minute. I've got here's my blue, here's my green, here's my red, and then up here is the next blue again. So these are the zones. Now these are going to be 21 pips increments here.
Mm-hmm.
If you measure between the red on the 5 minute and the green, you'll see that's roughly 21 pips. And
Much easier.
Much easier to work with. And that's one reason I like these pairs better than I'm not a big fan of the Japanese, the yen pairs.
The only thing about the Japanese yen pairs is the fact that they like whole numbers. So those quarter numbers come into play real well. Other than that, it's kind of a pain.
And move this over just a little bit here, just to.
My target's literally 1 pip below where that low just made.
That's your target?
That was my target, yeah.
Let's go over to my 1 minute chart here and see if there's anything I can do with this one. See, right now we have the, let's see, there's where to turn the tool on here. So right now you see, right now, if we have a 5 minute close below this, then I'd be looking at coming down. These are our 7 pip ranges. Like here's the blue line, here's the red line. We have 7 pips in between. We did get a break here at close. Do we have a close at 45? We do. No, we don't.
I was 1 pip short.
I like seeing the 5 minute close below these key levels. Like in this right now, this area right here, which is now the screen line. I like to see a 5 minute close. Right now, it wicked down and it closed right on the line. Now it's going back up again. This is where I would be more apt to maybe put a sell stop in, as long as the momentum's still strong. If the momentum stays strong on the pullback, where we still have the US dollar, which is the second currency, that's the strength, that's the blue one. The other one is the New Zealand, that's the yellow one. We have a 5-point spread. We have a 5.6-point spread. So on this pullback, if we get the pullback and everything still stays strong, our moving averages stay tight, we can take this trade to the short side.
Be aware of a demand zone at 69.31.
69.31, the demand. What's the range of that demand?
69.31 to 69.25.
31 to 20. 31.25. Oh, that's down. That's down here. Okay.
Yep, just be aware of it. It's right before your blue line, which is a great place to have your targets out.
There's the demand zone. Okay, so we have the pullback. So if this thing holds, if this thing cannot, if it doesn't close below above this green line, I can take this thing short. Let's see how the pullback goes. Now we have this is the area this area right in here is where the wicks are. This is where it's sort of basing. This is where the buyers started coming back in again. But right now everything is still moving in our direction. We have all of our moving averages are in the right direction on all 3 time frames. This one's starting to come back to retest the yellow, but as long as it doesn't cross below, stays below this green, we can take this thing short down to the next red zone.
I've got a order already in, and then my second add to it scaling in is at 69.49.
So I'm going to look at here's the wicks right below this green line. I'm going to be looking at the wicks right in here. 69.47. I'll take a sell stop at 69.47. If I can get this thing in. I don't think I can do this. I'm having some problem getting my feed on the. This is I've got an Auvoria account tied to this, and I am not having much luck getting it working on my TradingView. I tried last night and it wasn't logging in on me. So but right in here is where I would be looking at taking it short. There was a little pullback. Here's my blue line. I'm going to do an entry right in this area. If it fills into here, I'm looking down this for to be the target. So here's my entry to sell. And then my target is going to be right down here at this red line, which is going to be just before this demand zone. And it's also coming into that lower 25% that we talk about oftentimes in this area right in here.
My
target probably would have got me into the trade. Let's see, this is the New Zealand USD.
The Aussie US looks very, very similar. Obviously, the structure, the candle movements look similar. The placement doesn't. It's a little bit different look on that chart. The ebb and flow are the same, though.
Let's see, trading. Let's see. Now, if this thing turns around and starts heading up, if this doesn't, if we can't get this break and we start breaking up, my stop would be up in this area. So here's the entry. It's at 69.40. I use a 15 pip stop, so I'd be looking at 55. So my stop would be all the way up here, right at this, just before this red line. So basically, it's got to go through this green one. It's got to go through this little area right in here, which is the 50% mark. I think we're pretty safe to taking this thing on the downside. Let me mark my stop area. And my stop, I said 55, that's the red line. I'm just going to take it just a little bit above that red line, just have a little bit of a barrier there. And remember, our target is pretty much the red line or the screen zone, right? This little area right in here. And we could take it all the way down to the demand zone if you feel like you want to try that. Right now, everything's in the right order. We had this nice little pullback. The green did not cross the yellow. Here's our 62 moving average up here on the 1 minute. We still have a nice little trend coming. If we look at, here's an anchor, here's a hit, here's a pullback hit. That establishes our trend line. As long as it can stay below this trend line, we're good. We're good for this trade.
And when you get done with your setup, you want to look at your Aussie US too, because it's structured different. Looks very similar, but maybe an opportunity there.
Just have a little bit of a downward channel, and just see what it does. See how it's playing around in here. And which one was it? The Aussie what?
Aussie US, yeah.
All right, this is the.
This has played real good with me.
Aussie US. I'm going to put this one over in here. We're on that one. Aussie US. Aussie USD. Start with a clean chart.
We kind of missed, not being in session, we kind of missed a nice retracement after it closed below a green line. But it could still do the same thing a little bit lower. And there really is no demand below. I'm not seeing anything below other than our fib line at 72.94. There's nothing.
Yeah, 72.94-ish. Yep, right there.
That's not demand. That's just our fib number. Looking at it on the 15, you have a lot of supply above it. That's what I'm saying. If you missed it already going in, there's some retracement opportunities.
So here's our zone. Go to 5-minute chart, see what we have there. It's coming. This is the upper 25%. I'll just draw these out a little bit to give some clarity for people who are kind of new to see what we're doing.
Interesting.
Here's our upper 25 right in here. I'm just taking it right to, you can see where the red line, or here's our 25% line. Here's our red line. We're just going to take it right into the 25%. This is going to be the upper portion of our range. And here's the bottom portion of the range. I'm just going to clone this.
And I would suggest when you're doing this, if you see really no demand to your left on a 15, jump up to a 1 hour, because we are in a close to a demand area on a 1 hour. But just
Yeah, I always like to see where things are off to the 1 hour you say here.
yeah, on the left, it's a while back, but
Well, I guess
still
it is.
there. Yeah, but this is good clean air. When you see
Okay,
good clean air,
let me go to
you want to
forward.
check.
Let me go to something. There we go. Let me take these session breaks off here.
Yeah, when you see this much clean air, you want to make sure you go left. It's not that the trade's bad going short. That's not it at all. But you definitely want to find some sort of demand so you have some idea of what the playground is.
You always want to find out where the price moved from. So if I'm going to take this, I'm going to take this little area right in here, take it all the way over here to the left, and see where we can find an area over here that looks like it's going to work for us. Go left over left. And if I just take this is our 25% zone, you can see right now where there's this little area right in here is where it came back down. It came all the way down here, drove up, came back down. Actually, from this area, this is actually pretty fresh area. Once it came, we had the low, took off, came back, picked up its buddies, took off, and never really came back to this zone. So this is actually what we call a fresh zone. It hasn't been retested yet. You can see this little wick right here came down pretty close to it. And if I take it just right to the bottom of that wick and take it over and look over here to the right now and see where that actually was, remember, price has memory. And so even though we marked this on the 25%, you can see how close this thing really came to that 25% area. And it's within 73.11, 73.10. That's within 1 pip. We have a 1.3 pip spread, so that's the difference in that is the spread. So this is a good area right in here. This is a good area up in here. Let's go back to our lower time frame charts and see what the. So this is our playground for right now. We do have the strength to the downside. The U.S. dollar is strong. Check and see, make sure it still is. Let's see. And where are we at here?
US is 6, Kiwi is 1 on the 1 hour. US is 6, Kiwi is 1 on the 30-minute. US is 5, Kiwi is 0 on the 15, and US is 5 and Kiwi is 0 on the 5. So yeah, we're good.
So we still have the strength of the dollar, strength to the downside, looking at pullbacks.
And I've got an entry to add to my position right at 73.47.
73.47 is right in here. That's basically your 200, your 62 moving average on the 5-minute. But now let's get the fib zones on here. And you said 47?
73.47 is my entry point, yeah.
Yeah, we have a red line right here at the 71.50 green, and it was so basically if it comes up here, tags this, we could probably take a shot at any time, any place in between.
On the with the supply and demand tool, we're seeing a zone at 73.47 between 73.47 and 73.51. So that's where I'm sitting at.
This is the retest area. As this thing came back down and we had a nice strong move down, now it's coming up to retest this area in here. Anything in this area is good for a short. Or if you want to wait till it comes back down through the green, closes, if we can get a 5-minute close below the 73.42 area. Looks like we have, how many seconds do we have to go on this one? This is a new candle. This is a new 5-minute candle. So this thing is.
My Kiwi US must have hit profit. So I got to go look at that again. Good. That's good. A good way to start today. Thanks, Al.
Yep. So we
If I had a tip button, I'd tip you right now.
Yeah, there we go. So here we go. Here's the now we don't have the 5-minute close, but this was we actually did get the 5-minute close over here, right at this little candle right in there. And what happened to my start? I think I just deleted something here. But here's our green. Here's our target area. Remember, we said this is 7 pips in between. Oh, come on. They have a new thing here with every time I click on the line, it erases it, deletes it. So I would say this is a good short right in here. Take it into the past the green. Here's the first 7 pips. Here's the next 7 pips. So we got it from the green to the blue, blue to the red, as long as the strength is still pointing in that direction. It did come up to the retest area, and so now we're looking at these targets. I lost my zones. Redo all this up here. This is our 25% zone right in there. And we have the lower one down below. And we have, this could be the entry. It's hard drawing and talking and moving charts all at the same time.
Isn't it wonderful? So multitasking fool you are.
But this is kind of the entry here. It's a little bit, we should already be in this trade if you're going to be in this thing. And then this is your target down here. That's the first blue line. That's target 1. Here's target 2. You notice these are all 7 pips apart. The 73.36, 73.29. We have the momentum. We still have the strength of the dollar. Strength of the dollar, that's the blue line. Strength of the dollar over the Kiwi or over the Aussie. And now we just wait. I said we had this little retest area up in here. So it came up 3 pips to in between. Here's a red zone, here's a green zone, came up halfway to that. And now we're looking to come back down and tag the first target down here, target 1. Any questions?
Not seeing any posted yet. Looks like we're going to be flipping. Yeah, it looks like we're going to be flipping between the Aussie US and the Kiwi US as far as charts this morning so far.
Christina's question.
Oh, let's see what we got here. Where's the question at?
No, me. I have
a
question.
Oh.
You have a question.
Oh gosh, here she comes.
I know. Here we go again. Okay. At what point? Okay, you see how the upper one you have 25% lower time frame. When would you consider that a higher time frame? Like, what is the break to then make it a higher time frame?
Right now probably nothing because we're just pretty much drawing it between these fibs. I just have a label because that's what my label said. It's really not much of a higher time frame at this point.
I didn't know if like 30 minutes or an hour. If you have,
well, I mean,
that's what my question.
I would say the 15-minute is generally. I mean, you can make this the higher time frame because we're actually drawing it on the 15-minute. The 15 minutes are higher time frame. We're using the 15-minute reference. And all of it, but the thing is, it's really basically the same thing because it's the same zone on all of our. This is basically the zone that we're trading. There's really no distinction. But I mean, I used to use higher time because I was using pivot to pivot, but now that we're just using these 15-minute fib zones, it's all pretty much lower time frame.
It's laid his playground out for him already.
It just laid my playground.
Right.
So yeah,
No
so really, don't get caught up on the lower or higher time frame. This is just the zone.
Thanks.
Al, go ahead and take a look at your, unless you're going to jump into the Kiwi, look at your Aussie US. I think it's structured like you were talking about it was going to do because it's close.
Aussie US here. That's what I'm I'm on that. So
what you're on them? Yeah.
That's what I'm on now.
You were talking about taking an order. Taking an order below.
Well, theoretically, I'm having a hard time I'm having a hard time with my platforms this morning. So I haven't really been able to, all I've been able to do is draw these orders. Ideally, what I'd like to do is be able to take this and just show an order taken, but I'm having some
Yeah.
problems with that today.
Yeah, I notice you don't have a green dot by it. So that tells me you're not connected.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not connected with this. So I'm having some technical difficulties with that, and
I'm waiting for it to
and
hit
I
that target.
apologize for that.
It keeps hitting my limit, but it won't take it won't, obviously there's a spread. I'm not quite far enough on the spread yet to get.
But you can see on this 1 minute chart, you can see where, when I put my tool back on again. So here's my green line, here's my blue line. It broke the green line, came back up, tagged the blue line, it's coming back up to retest. And now the strength is still strong to the dollar, the 4 and a 1. Again, the dollar is the blue line. Right now it's pulling back after this bounced off the blue line. Now this thing could start actually going to another direction here. But right now we're still in this. We would have hit the target. We already hit our target 1. Now the question is this thing going to pull back and then come down to hit our target 2, which is down here?
And know that he's analyzing this on a 1 minute chart. So
right, this is all on a 1 minute chart here.
I'm watching the same thing on a 15. So if it's too fast for you on a 1 minute, move up a time level. What it seems like it's doing, Al, is it's breaking. It broke below the green line, but it can't get past that 61.8 fib line at 73.33, 73.34-ish. Doesn't seem like it can get past there yet.
Yeah, it still has a hard time with that one. So
which is expected, but
so now if we get a close below the blue one, it's going down to the red one. Here's my blue line. This is
you're on you're on Aussie US. Your blue line, which blue line is that? 5 minute chart?
2 minute blue right there.
2 minute blue.
Yeah, on a 1 minute chart. Yeah, I don't have a 1 minute. It's basically they're all 2 minute on the fib tool is as low as it goes. And these are 7 pip zones right in here on this. Actually, on this one, these are 7 pip zones. So that's why I'm going for 7 pip targets. I go from green to the blue, blue to the red, red to the back to the green again. Just highlight these a little bit so you can see a little bit better.
I don't drop down quite that far, but that helps you get your targets for sure.
Yeah. And so I could also, the other thing I'll oftentimes do is I'll go to my 5 minute chart, expand that out, wait for that 5 minute close around these lines.
That 5 minute candle right now looks really good
That
since we have 1
like
minute away.
This one did close. Now this would be the next target. This would be a target. You can see I got my target set up here.
Target hit for me. I'm out on this one.
It looks like we may get another shot at this level here. And you can see right now that it came out of our 25% zone. And now if we get a close below this orange 61, get close below that, it's probably heading down to the 50. If it goes close below that, it's probably heading down to the 38, the orange 38. And we'll just see what happens. And you see that these little zones right in here are right. This one's right in the middle between these two. This one is a little bit higher. But this basically is dividing this whole section into thirds. So we already had our target 1. Our target 2 is right over down here. Now we may get a bounce off this. If we can't get the bounce off of that, we may not get to our target 2. But I'd like to see a 5 minute close off of this little orange line right in here. But what's really what really helps, before a couple of weeks ago or within a week or so ago, what we're doing, we're trying to find the pivot high, the pivot low, and then that's where when Christine was asking about the higher time frame, 25% zones. But right now, what we're doing, we're just using our fib tool to find out where the price is, find out that because on a 15-minute chart, the ranges between these different color ranges are 62 pips, which is pretty much what I was looking at before. This puts me right into that range, and it breaks it down into my thirds. And so I don't have to worry about whether this is a higher time frame or lower time. There's just a 25% zone. But I'll just change that. No, I can here. That may help solve some of the questions here.
I'm posting these in our channel. Some of the things we're doing here.
You have that HTF ready.
Yeah, I just call it 25%.
Sorry, gang.
Well, if it's confusing to you, Christine, it's probably confusing to somebody else as well. So, and let's see, what time is it? It's
7:15 almost, or
go
8:15.
maybe look at some indexes.
Sure. I'll keep an eye on your Forex for you.
Okay, keep an eye on that. Let me see if I can find out like a German 30, see what's going on with the German 30 here today. Now with the indexes, see if I have this. I'm only looking at pretty much the major currencies of the, like for the German 30, which is the DAX. I'm referencing the euro. And then like for the UK 100, I'll be referencing the British pound. And then for the S&P 500, I'll be referencing the US dollars. So we got the blue one, which is US dollar, the red, which is the euro, and then the purple, which is the British pound. And you can see which one's going to be stronger to that. Right now, the euro is pretty much right in between the two. And you can see this thing's in a pretty good little down move. Expand this thing out. See where my zones are. Whoops, I didn't want to do that. There we go. And so right now we can see the price right now is in between. Now these might still be a little bit tight on this one. Let me see what the range is on this. Is the orange, green. That's basically a $43 move. That's okay. That's good. Again, with these indexes, we usually shoot for about $5 moves on them. So the range on this is okay. So take it from green to blue. That's the range we're working with. Move it over here so we can see it. We'll lock it. Go to my lower time frame chart. And if you're looking to see where this thing is at right now, moving averages are pointing down. All the moving averages are in the right direction there. And they are in the, so right now we have everything showing to the short side. And with a 4 level on the euro, that means basically if it's, right now it's pretty much in the middle. So if it were like a 9, I'd be thinking it'd be more of a short. If it's a 0, I'd be looking more of a long. Right now it's kind of range bound right now as far as that. So we really can't put too much weight on that one, although it does seem to be favoring, the short side on this thing. Go to my 1 minute, that's to go to my 5 minute chart here and see if we get a close below something here. Here's my blue line. Here's my red line. Here's my green line. We do not have a 5 minute close below. Now these lines are between the red and the green on the 5 minute charts. There's your 14 pips. This thing has some downward pressure here. See, it's bouncing right off of the green zone. If it can get it closed below this green, we're heading on down to the blue. Go for our 5 pips if we can, or $5.
Tell you what, the Hercules tool is pretty stable this morning. There's not a whole lot of changes.
Now here's our lower 25% of the Fibonacci. There's the lower 25.
And this correlates to which currency?
This is the pretty much would correlate to the euro pretty much, as best we can ascertain. 25%.
So if the euro is sitting in the middle of the Hercules tool,
I would say there's no clear direction.
Okay, so we would basically trade as if it was sideways.
Yeah, I would be, trade as if it was sideways, and it'd be looking more towards what the moving averages were telling us.
Trade the extremes and moving average.
Yeah. and trade our little fib zones here. So it came down into our lower 25, just tagged it. That means, and it still has some pressure to the downside. This one is not real clear. This is one of the glitches in the tool that we have to try and figure out how to fix that and get these little.
I think the JavaScript may help.
Yeah, I'm hoping that we can get that fixed on that. Let's see, where's our next zone here on the 25? Here's a blue zone. A lot of times it likes to go from blue zone to blue zone. I like to see a little bit of a pullback, and we had the little pullback here, drop. Here's a little bit of pullback. Moving averages stayed the same. Now we're in this lower 25 of this zone, but right now we're at the blue level right now. And this is where we could probably, oftentimes we'll get the bounce off of these blue zones.
Update on the Kiwi US. When we think the fib tools don't work, it went right down to the blue 69.21 and currently is bouncing up.
See, the fact this thing's coming right down to a 15-minute blue zone, a 5-minute blue zone, and a 1-minute blue zone, I'm not going to take it short. But I would be looking, maybe see this thing maybe start to reverse. And this is about the time of the day when this thing oftentimes will reverse. And this would be the upper level. And that's at 15,145, call it. And this is, that's about a $35 move on that.
And you're shooting for 5?
Shooting for 5, but right now I'm trying to find a place to get into this thing. Right now I don't have any real clear direction on it. Nice wick down, couldn't hold it. It's a big wick. Now, if it breaks through this blue zone, here's our lower 25. This is kind of the overshoot area right in here. What I call the overshoot. And that's basically a 25% overshoot of this down move. This is also could be considered a trap. And we'll see if it's going to respect this blue zone right in here. Now, if we can start getting the flip where this thing's going to start coming up to retest this area, it's going to start breaking through these orange lines and the 50% line. As they have the two orange on the extreme, that way it doesn't really matter which way I draw the fib, you're just looking at the color. This is the 50%. So it still has room to the downside here.
I got that dumb song in my head. Rainy Days and Mondays. Karen Carpenter. Are you kidding me? Why would you ever start a Monday with a Karen Carpenter song?
You did it to yourself.
I know. Could be the Mamas and Papas. Monday, Monday. I'm not that old. I don't know how I know that stuff, but
now, of these three currencies, you see right now, the euro is the stronger of the three.
explain to me what the 432 are.
The four is basically the euro.
Euro. Okay.
The red. The blue is the US dollar.
Okay.
And the purple-ish magenta is the British pound. And I'm just looking to see how strong the euro is against the dollar, how strong the dollar is against. I mean, you see, none of them are really all that dominant right now. And that's one reason why I'm not real keen on taking this, because there's no, if that euro were up to like a 7 or down to a 0, if it were down to a 0, I'd be looking at taking this thing long. The fact is at a 4, which is kind of right in the middle between our 7 and 0 of the currencies, it's not showing any real clear dominance on the other two majors. Plus, it's also coming right into this blue zone. So that's why I'm not real anxious to be taking this trade, because I don't really know which direction it's going to go. Now, if this euro goes all the way down to like the 0 or way below the other two, then I may be more apt to take this thing short. But right now, we got a blue zone that's overshoot. It's right in this overshoot area. And as this thing gets, there you go. Now it's starting to get a little bit weaker. See, now it went from a 4 to the British pound just got stronger all of a sudden. So if we were to go to the UK 100, I don't know if I even have that on here. UK 100. Let's go to the UK 100. And we should have, this thing should propagate. It takes a little while sometimes. Got my 15-minute chart. See where my zones are. See, right now the UK 100 is weak compared to the other two. And so I'm looking at this thing, maybe if the theory holds true that if this is weak, then the market goes up, we may be looking at a bottoming here. And my zones are, let's see the range of this, 32 to 16. That's about 15 pip zones in between on these 15-minute. Again, we're looking for, now, EVA goes for $2 on the UK 100.
Right.
Here's my range. Trying to get these. Slide this over. See it bounce right off this red fib line. 5-minute chart. Let's see, this is a little bit of a zone right in here. Call this a retest. See if it retests, breaks through this little area right here. Here's their upper 25% in this area. So the thing is, if it breaks through this is going to be right up in the upper 25. We still have the downward pressure. And so this is real typical for a Monday morning. That's why I don't take a lot of trades on Mondays. Go to my 1-minute chart. You see how this thing just wicked right up into it? Here's our blue zone right in here. Here's our green, and see it just wicked right up into that. Now it's starting to show some strength on the British. So as it's getting more strength, it's probably going more to the downside. Let's take a look and see where we get a 5-minute close. Eva likes taking on the 5-minute. I don't have a 5-minute close below this green line, which is right down in here. You see where my cursor propagates right in here. This is so if it gets a close from that, we're looking at, these are only going to be a couple pips apart. 21 to 20. Now this is where if you start taking these things in the middle of these types of swings like this, all it does is what I call chews up a lot of your emotional inventory. Right now, I'd say this thing is favored to the short side with the strength of the British pound. Nice little pullback. Here's a nice strong move down. Here's a retracement. And now I'd be looking at this for the target. I'd probably be looking at an entry. I'd say close below the blue line. We're looking at probably the green line for the target.
The U.S. has gotten a little bit weaker across the board.
Quite a bit.
Does that impact this one?
I think it does, yeah. This is where I'd be looking at trying to trade like the British USD. Trade to the strength of the British.
U.S. is still stronger across the board, but it's not number 6 across the board like it was in the past.
These indexes can be a whole different animal. Now here's like a wave 1. Here's a strong move down. Here's an A, B, maybe get up here, up into this other area. Got a little bit of a trend going on right in there. I'd probably be okay taking a shot at it. If this thing closes below the blue line, be looking to take it to the green line. So I'll put an entry right about in this area. I want to see a close and then just do an entry right up in about this area. Entry to go short.
Nice bounce. Sorry.
Then the target would be, I would use this 21, this is 18. I'd be using pretty much right about the middle of this area. Again, we didn't get the close below here, so I didn't get it. I'm not into this thing.
Can you move your, and which one is this? The UK 100?
UK 100.
Can you move your 15-minute chart over so I can see the candle structure? I was just kind of doing a comparison here. There's a similarity, strangely enough, on the Kiwi US. So there has to be a correlation with, I mean, the structure itself. Back right where you have the basing candle is also where they have a basing candle for the Kiwi US. I mean, it's structured very, I mean, you bounced the same spot that we bounced at. Now, your current candle is a little bit different where you're kind of in a doji. The Kiwi is blasting up. Here. Yeah, I'll just see if there's any other correlation as I'm watching the currencies to see if we can tie them together.
You see how this thing's flipped around right now? The British pound, which is the purple one, now it was at a 6 on the 5-minute. On the 50-minute, it's a 2. So it's kind of all over the place. Now we're at a 2, a 4, and a 2. So that's saying that there's the British pound just got weak compared to the others. I'm still kind of looking at this being, I'd still be looking at this being the target down here. If it gets me in, I would like to see a close and then do a entry to at the 86 or 68.22 area. I'd like to see it close first. So right now this thing really isn't. I just have it sitting right there. I still want to see the 1 minute or 5 minute. Right now on the 5-minute chart we have 1 minute. So when we have another 1 minute and 8 seconds to go before this 5-minute candle closes.
That's a nice thing about TradingView too.
That gives you that little clock right here. What the
little clock,
close.
Yeah.
We have 50 seconds before this 1 minute candle closes. And like I said, this would be my target down here. I'll be right about in this little area right in here. Go up a little bit.
Nice pullback on the Kiwi US for the retracement. We'll see what happens. It's still, currency-wise, it's still structured right. I think we got away from the average quite a bit, so a big pullback would not surprise me at this point.
You can see all these wicks in here. That's what drives your mind crazy. Especially if you get in, it goes back up, and then where's it going to get out? It's coming back up into the upper 25. You see, there's just a lot of wicks right in here. It's just going all over the place. It's having a hard time trying to get it. But I said we can get a close below this little blue line right here. I really think we're going to be going down to this little green area down here. And actually, this would be a little bit of a zone. Here's my green line. I would be looking at this being a target zone of right in here. But it's got to break through this first. We came up to retest it. Right now, the British pound is weak. Like I said, it keeps on flipping around back and forth over here. Still don't have a 1 minute close yet. 3 more minutes before you get the 5 minute close. I think what Eva would do is she'd have moving average to the right. She'd have this and be the entry, and then $2 target. She'd be in it. Waiting for it to hit the target.
Anne was just stating that she liked the idea of being able to see all time frames of 3 different charts. That's what I was telling. I was telling her the trading view. That's why it's a little easier because you can draw on one and it go across all the pair or all the time frames. That's one reason we're trying to move that way.
Yeah, and if you don't like that, you can always turn them off and just trade them just the one. Let's say here would be the target. Boom, there's a target. Done. In and out. Next trade.
Well, it looks like I got in the Kiwi a second order, but missed the one on the Aussie, but that's okay. That's okay.
So in my mind, this trade would be done now. We got in, got out. Let's see, that was 21.36 to 19.32. Yeah, there's your $2 move.
That's good.
And right here came right into your target.
It's good.
And let's see, where's the German? Go back to the German attacks. Let's see where we're at here. People like the index. Actually, I do like the indexes this time of day because the European markets are open. Ours is still closed. The U.S. market's still closed. And you get some pretty nice little moves off the indexes.
What is this one? The DE30 is DAX?
Yeah, DE30. That's the Deutsches, the DAX.
Tied to the euro?
Yeah. Well, the euro, the German mark would be tied to the euro. Yeah. So we'd be looking at the red one down here right now.
Look at me learning something.
So here's my green zone. Here's my red zone. There's my 15. These are my 15-minute zones right here. It's playing in between the green and the red. I'm going to draw my Fibonacci.
Does the pound come into play anymore with this because it's unpegged from?
I only use it just as a reference to the three. Basically, the British market, the London market's open, the European market's open, and the U.S. market is about to be open. So that's why I use these three against each other just to see how they are reference to. Because I mean, the dollar may be strong or may be weak, but if it's strong compared to the other two, then I'd be more apt to say, okay, that's dominate. That's the dominant currency.
Do you see a little wedge forming there?
Let's see, and the wedge. If I mean,
you can see it on the 1 minute.
Oh yeah, yep. This out a little bit here. Here's my range. Here's my blue line. I'm just going to tweak it a little bit here. Slide it over. Slide this one down just a little bit here. And here's my lower 25. I like these 25% zones for showing the where's going sideways. Here's the upper 25, should be right about in there, I believe. Pretty close. This is the playground right now. We're in the middle of everything. Now we're just trying to determine which way it's going to go. The euro right now is on top of the dollar and the British pound. You can see where our intermediate zones are. Here's a red zone. Here's an orange line. We'll use this as a target, or at least a reference point, not some area target. Maybe a target. And then up here is another, here's a reference, here's a green zone, we'll use the same thing. You can see it's actually, you can see it's starting to basically make lower highs and higher lows. And let's see what the range between this is. This is a 114 to, it's about $20 move here on the euro. Moving averages are crossing. We don't want to take it short with this moving averages like that, but here's the 62 up here. So that's could be a bounce point. Go to my 1 minute chart and see where my trends are. You can see we have, as Brian was mentioning, here's the wedge, here's a pivot. Here's the anchor, there's a hit, here's a hit. I like this one, looking for a third hit. Oh, so right now this trend line is valid. Here's a zone that came back, was rejected. Here's a zone, it got rejected. And now for the upper zone, looking at pretty much this pivot high to this pivot high. We're starting to get a break, but this could be a trap going right up into the upper 25%. I just see a little bit more confirmation to that. See, I just wicked right up, respected this area. Now, the fact we had this wick, but still respect to this bug, I'm going to move this trend line. So this was almost more of a trap than it was a. See what it does. See how it's faking everybody out right here? Right now we have, this is actually the stronger of the three, but it's still pretty weak. With it being weak, it does have with the fact that the euro is still like on a level 2 of and these are all really real close together.
Mm-hmm.
There's really not much variance between them. But it is the fact that it has a 2 value, which means it's weak relative to the other 7 currencies, which does give me rise to think it's going to go more to the upside.
Now you have some questions.
Yes.
Okay. And yeah, I can't remember why those blue, green, and red lines on 15 are they trading view fibos? And then she goes, and on the 5 and the 1. can't see very well when showing all 3 time frames at the same time.
Yeah, that's our Atlas tool, and we are working on getting those thicker. That is not a trading view tool.
Okay, and Rajiv wants to know if your Fibos drawings are your drawings are different. Can you please explain the reason behind it?
I'm not sure.
That's in the chat, Brian.
I'm looking. Let me see what we got here. That's Rajiv. I see you are drawing the fibs differently. Can you please? Okay, so Rajiv just got in the room. Really, basically, what we're doing, the Atlas tool is drawing our foundational playground.
And that's this tool
lines.
right here. That's this one
yeah.
right here.
And those in Hawkeye will be able to get access to those here very shortly. And then we just do a retracement from those fib standards to another fib standard. So a red line to a blue line, a green line to a red line. That's where basically what's happened is we've turned everything after doing analysis of how price action has been moving. We found that keeping things as simple and mechanical as possible, it really takes a lot of the subjectivity out. There's not a whole lot of guessing left. And we will be doing some videos, excuse me. We'll be doing some videos to really hammer down the foundations of each of these tools, how it works, why it works, and show you how to set it up as well. That way, when you come into the Hawkeye session, you'll understand before you even get here what these tools are and how we're using them. We're working on that for you too.
Yeah. But basically what it is, the long and short is we're on a 15-minute chart. This is our Atlas tool. This is the one that that we'll be talking about, that we'll be making available to everybody. And I put it on a 15-minute. You can see this has a lot of different time frames. But I'm on a 15-minute chart with the 15-minute setting. And then that draws these blue, red, and green lines. It goes from blue, red, green, blue, red, green, blue. And so what we do is we draw our Fibonacci in between. Actually, this one's got spin on 2 of them here. Why did we do that? Let me just I'll just redraw this here. So here's our green line, here's our blue line. And you'll see that the distance between, now it does vary a little bit whether you're on indexes or on currencies. But if you look and see what the range is on this is basically a $41 move or 41 euro move in between these zones. That's a nice comfortable range that I like to trade with. So what we do then, we take a standard Fibonacci tool, which is what we've been using all along. This is part of this one's part of the TradingView platform, and you just draw the straight Fibonacci with our Fibonacci values of the standard 76.4, 61.8, 50, 38.2, 23.6, which creates our upper 25% and lower 25% of the zones, which we still do that. Here's the upper 25 right in this area right here.
And really, what you're trying to do is get it as boring as possible. There is zero magic or secret sauce in these things. However, if you go back and look at these lines that we're doing for you guys, historically, you can see where price has either bounced from it or at least spent some time and hesitated there. Obviously, we can't predict what the future holds, but to see how they bounce. And before we leave today, Al, I want to show them the Kiwi US one more time, because it's going to talk a little bit about that fib number, and you'll see exactly what we're talking about. There's no secret sauce, but if you can have a mechanical system in place, it sure doesn't hurt.
Yeah, here I'm just going to highlight these a little bit. This is the green 15-minute zone. Here's the blue 15-minute zone. And I drew the fib between the green and the blue. And now if I go to a 5-minute chart, I'm on a 15-minute chart, but if I go to a 5-minute settings, you're going to see that these are going to be divided into thirds. And these are the thirds that we're going to be looking at. And then we start looking at key zones. So this would be like from this Fibonacci, from the 25% to the red zone, I'd be looking at this as being a potential target.
It's crazy how it works, to be honest.
And then I'd be looking at this green zone to this this orange, the 61% area, or to the top of the 25%. I'd be looking at this as a target right now. And you'll see where it starts getting, where you start getting tighter and tighter with the target ranges. And you see where it came right up. Now the question is it going to hold that? So as we go into the lower time frames, you break down into our lower time frames, you'll see that we have on a 1 minute chart, we actually have zones too on 2 minute. And so it breaks those down into thirds. When you turn those on, you have red, green, blue. And so, but basically, if you're just going to be grabbing the move between like the red and the green, you're going to be looking at, this is 15,127, and this is 15,126. That's a little bit narrow. So I would probably go for 2 of these zones on this particular index. And then the blue line would be somewhere in, that's probably right at this, where this line right here is. If I move this down, I bet I could probably, yeah.
And know that Al
right
is
there.
breaking it down for his target purposes. If that gets to be too many lines for your own eye to identify, you don't have to have the 2 minute zones on there. You just got to have the understanding he's breaking it down into thirds again. That's all it is. I like to draw, my personal styles, I'd like to draw on the 15-minute chart and then leave it alone. Don't draw anymore. But I also understand, I've been doing it long enough to know that I know where he's drawing his, I don't know what color they are, but I know where his lines are. So being that I've been with him so many years, has aged me. But I know what he's doing because I've been with him. So it's a matter of just taking the time and staying diligent, staying with the game plan. Don't chase the shiny object. There is no secret sauce
right there. That's the bottom of my red line inside this 25% zone. See, it came up, got rejected. Coming down here now, if it can break through that, we could maybe be looking at another retest here. But right now, I'm looking at the euro, which is the red. It's on the 6. Right now, the euro is strong compared to the other 2 currencies. I would expect to see this thing start breaking down a little bit. It came up here to it, and this is where you just have to be. One thing about with these indexes, we find out not to get greedy. Just go for your $5, like on the DAX, we'll go for a $5 move. On the UK 100, we go for a $2 move.
I still think the cool part, Al, is the fact that you can trade any asset, whether it be stocks, options, futures, indices, gold, or currency, and the same foundational strategy will be the same. Now, your profit taking will be different.
Yes.
Your stops will be different, but your structure of how you analyze the playground doesn't change. I do the same thing for stocks. I do the same thing across the board. I do it for ETFs. It's the same thing over and over. So if you're really loving, the GE, is it GE30? What do y'all call it?
Yeah. Well, there's a couple. There's actually, it's the GE. There's a DE30. Now you have to be careful with that with the German, because there is a German DAX cash index and there's a German DAX index. Animals, they do trade a lot the same, but they do give you different values. So you have to be careful that if you go from on your MT4 platform, there's actually 2 of them in there. You have to be careful, make sure you're trading the one you want to be trading, or at least, I mean, the price action gets to be pretty much the same, but they are 2. But if you chart it on one chart and you look at it on like your MT4 and chart it on the trading view, you got to be real careful. You're trading make sure the values are the same.
The key is whatever you think you resonate with, stay with it.
Yeah, there you go.
And just understand, when you're with Al and myself and Eva and whoever our coaches are, we're pretty much doing the same thing. It doesn't matter what we're looking at. So if you think, well, I'm just a Forex person, well, you can still learn a lot from just watching the same identical structure over and over again, because he's doing the same thing. He's just got a different profit and stop level.
Yeah, like for instance, like Eva is more apt to see a little pivot like this, moving average. It's got a little pullback, and she may put an entry just above these pivots and go for $5. I may be more apt to go for a pullback and then go for maybe $5.
But the playground's the same.
But the playground's the same. And what she's banking on is that you get these wicks right here. Like, I'll just use this for example. She may look at these wicks and say, okay, these are the wicks. I could draw some wicks here. There's the top of where the wicks are. She goes, what she banks on is that it's going to come up, break through that wick up, get her $2 out, and then it may keep on going, but she's only going for a couple of dollars, and she's very successful doing that. It's almost like a little. She's trading the head fakes. Is basically head fakes or the breakout. I like trading the pullbacks into an area. Moving averages are the same. Pulls back into a zone. Right now, see, right now this is a 5, 6. See, it's getting a little, as this thing is getting, as this number is going up, the price is coming down. When this number goes down, the price is going up.
And I would encourage you too, especially if you're new, having all your Forex currency pairs in front of you is nothing wrong with that in demo, but pick 3, 4, maybe 5 at most that you really like, that you know that the spread is usually normal, that doesn't go crazy, and stick with those. Because what will end up happening, especially for new traders, everything starts going well and you start over trading. It's just like this morning. I took my trades on my live account, and then now I'm in my demo. I'm doing all sorts of stuff with my demo right now, but I took on my live. I met my goal for the day. Get out. Over trading will kill you. Al, you want me to show my screen before we call it a day?
Yeah, why don't you do that? Yeah, because we're
Let me,
almost to the end of this thing. I'll stop sharing. You can take
I'm
over.
going to show exactly what we're doing here on that, and then you guys will understand one of the pieces of the puzzle. Why, again, there's no secret sauce here. This is just, yeah, correlated. Exactly, Danielle. Exactly. Yeah, watch out for correlations. They'll kill you. So there's nothing on my screen. I wouldn't need anything necessarily on my screen. But it's always confirmation, because the shiny new objects are going to, markets do change. They ebb and flow. They have, believe it or not, each asset class has a personality. It really does. I heard that when I was learning. I thought that's stupid. Definitely different movements. But if you look here, we historically would draw lines of where we would see price always reacting. So right here at the 7,000-ish, you go right here and see it across the board. You can see it's very easy to see where power lines are. But with our tools, I want you to notice where my target was. Now I'm in this again, very, very small position on a demo account. I expected it to bounce exactly where it did. And so I added to my position up here. So I'm adding one more position up here, and my stop's farther enough away. This is not the 15 pip stop that we normally would do. This is just a, oh crap stop. You know, so I'm watching for the picture to change. If it gets past here, this area right here, then I'm going to go ahead and close out and take the loss, and that's okay. But this is my oh crap stop. I can move it all the way up here if I wanted to. It doesn't matter. But watch what happens when we talk about the playground that we've established, giving us mechanical things. It takes our own biases out of it, because we all have biases because we hate to be wrong. When we put all the tools in place, you will see why we believe in what we're doing, especially the Atlas and the Hercules. Where did it come down to? The blue line. I mean, right down to 69.20, right on the button, and it's been bouncing since. That's a predetermined line. That's not me analyzing it. That's not my subjective eye.
It's not
green
price action or anything. It's just a number on the line.
It's just it just happens to be what it is. Same thing with the green. Where did this movement really move from? It broke below it, retested, couldn't really. It's back and forth, and finally, one last time, fell from this line. So that establishes our playground. Not a big deal. So then you ask about the retracement tool. I take it from top to bottom, and now I can tell you, now this makes my picture a little clearer. So when I said if it gets over here, I'm going to get out, obviously I've got a stop sitting there, but I really think the 50 area is the key for me. If it closes above the 50, I may give it a little bit of wiggle room to see if it'll test that moving average, but really the picture to me is still down. Nothing's changed. I'm not panicked that I'm losing on these two trades. We had made profit. We followed our rules before. We made profit twice today. If it happens, it happens. But look where price is seeming to bounce from off of this candle, 23. Where did we reject? At the 38 right here on the same candle. It was both the 38 and the 23. So we're kind of in an area of concern. Well, look where our moving average is at. Obviously, self-fulfilling prophecy. This one right here is an actual drop, base, and drop. This line across the board, 50, 69. Call it 69.50 because that's what the institutions and banks are going to call it. And I gave it wiggle room for my stop. So basically what we're trying to do is take out all subjectivity. Now, why did I jump in down here? Because I have no real demand for a long way. There's no green. There's nothing. So when I'm looking down, that's why I said, if you see something like this and there's nothing down here with your supply and demand tool showing demand, jump back to your 1 hour chart and see what happens. And look what happens. Look where we're coming from. That's why this tool is powerful. It's coming right back to where it was before. That doesn't mean it won't come down, but look at this M pattern. So we very well could head down to the 68.50. If you read the data on the Kiwi US and the central banks, their government feels like they're overpriced for exports right now. So they're going to try to push it down a little bit more. That doesn't mean it's immediate. It could be 3 months, 6 months, 8 months. It doesn't matter. But if you see a 15-minute chart with no demand on it, once you get your tools, then go back either to 30-minute, find out where it's at, because you'll see why this is reacting the way it is.
And basically, you don't need the tool. You don't need the tools to do this, but it saves you a whole
lot of time.
Because
And subjectivity.
Because sometimes you have to go back 2-3 years sometimes to find out what that zone was.
And the key is to keep it as mechanical and not subjective as possible. That's all it is. Non-emotional, boring. That way, when you come into the chat room, all we're doing is we're talking about what we're going to do for the day, and minor questions instead of why did you do this? Why did you do that? Obviously, if you're new, you got to understand all of it. But you want your time with the group, the Hawkeye session, to be, hey, how's your family? And then let the trades do the trades. As boring as possible.
And basically what we're trying to do in this room, we're trying to teach you how to fish. We're trying to give you the tools, the fishing rod and reels and lines and hooks and the equipment to be able to fish. And so you can, so you don't need us to be able to do that.
Which is very sad.
Yeah.
Teaching you to leave our room basically on your own. And when the market, when various alert systems, wedge systems, whatever tool you wanted to get into doesn't work anymore, you'll understand price action still is key, and you'll be able to still trade until you find the next tool to help you. But the tools that we have here are not lagging indicator. They're not indicators at all. They're not alert systems at all. There's nothing. This won't change. So that's a key point too. There's nothing in here that's going to change.
I guess the moving averages are kind of a lagging indicator in a sense, but that's not really, again, that's just a basic moving average that you can get on any platform, any program. But what is somewhat interesting is how these our algorithmic Fibonacci lines, those red, green, and blue lines, how they just line up, and they're there all the time.
They don't move.
It's an algorithm that's based on a number line that has nothing to do with price action.
It's just strict. It's just strict how price happens to work. And for me, the moving average are just a confirmation of trade management for me. Why are indicators so predictable? Because if you want to know about masses, when you were taught in the school about money, you were taught the opposite of what to do. If you go to Goldman Sachs after you graduate from college, they will take what you've learned in college and then reteach you how to really make money. So 90% of people really don't understand how the market works. And so that the institutions and banks do, and so they manipulate and they understand human psychology, and it goes back even with algorithmic trading, robotic trading. They place it on moving averages. Banks and institutions are fully aware of that part, and so they just play the game with you. So remember, I teach my fourth graders the same thing. If I'm holding the dollar, you can't. Banks, governments, and institutions are doing the same thing. And it's kind of like gambling in a lot of ways, in the fact that they know that you're going to come in and you're going to place your trade, and they're going to think that you do not understand anything.
And they know where you're going to try and get in. They're going to know where you're going to try and get out.
And that's a key component, especially when you're day trading type stuff is, like this weekend, I made a choice. I made a choice to move my stop and hold a particular trade over the weekend. It worked out. Sometimes it doesn't, but in this case, I felt reading the government notations on the Aussie US and looking at what the market was doing on Friday afternoon, I was going to take a risk of another 15 pips to hold on to take the profit, and it worked out. Again, this is very, very calculated and mechanical gambling. It's like counting cards. If you're a card counter, Las Vegas is going to know it. They're going to recognize it. And so you try to put the odds in your favor. What the tool is going to do is basically all the tools together combined are going to give you your foundations to build from. Doesn't mean you're going to always be right, but it's going to keep your emotions as much out of it as possible. When you don't want a lot of people, especially new traders, will move their stops around. They'll move their targets around. They'll get the trade. They'll enter the trade, but they can't stop tweaking it. And usually when you start tweaking during your trade without a plan, you end up tweaking it right out of profitability because people's mindsets, they're so fearful of losing that they create what they fear. And it took me a little while. I've never been fearful of trading. If I lean on any side, it's greed. And so I had to basically early on, to be honest, I had to place my trade and go play golf and leave it alone. And Al remembers that time.
Yeah.
He remembers that. It was about 5 or 6 years ago. I was so much tweaking everything that I had to go play golf. Golf meant 4 hours. So a 4-hour chart would not do anything. So I learned to back off a little bit. And I've learned my personality. And now I can come in a room in a 15-minute chart and not freak me out. Now I can't do what Al does. I can't get that 1 minute. It's too fast for me. Even though I understand it, it gets my competitiveness going again. And I don't like that. And that's, again, knowing yourself. I just bought a book and I'll read it. And if it's good, I'll let you guys know why the rich go broke. And that's basically a synopsis of why do very, very wealthy people who've inherited money fast, how they lose it just as fast.
Lottery winners.
Yeah. And it's a mindset and not understanding how the money market game really works. Are we up against we're up against our clock.
We're actually way past our time. So,
well, fantastic.
Yeah, we've gone over our time today.
Hopefully it was helpful.
So, anyway, hopefully I'm going to work on my charts a little bit today if I can to try and get things set up a little bit better. I'm not sure what happened over the weekend, but some of my charts that I was able to use and brokers that I was connected with for some of my for my TradingView especially, they figure out what's going on with that. But anyway, everything's still the same either way. It's we still trade the zones, we still trade the price movements, and I think we did okay today. How did anybody make any money today? Anybody?
I did
trades.
I did. Of course, I'm a coach, but I made money today, regardless.
So,
got somebody. Rajiv made some money.
All right, good. Hey, that's what we're just. I mean, we're not going to win every day, but we try to win most of the days. At least I show some trades every day that it's going to be maybe with some money in the bank for you guys. So with that, thanks again for being here. We appreciate every one of you, and we will see you tomorrow, same time, same place. See you then.
See you guys.